Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Let's begin by just sort of talking about the data itself. There are half a dozen or more different research paradigms in parapsychology, all of which have achieved very significant statistical results.
That is true.
For example, remote viewing.
Yeah, remote viewing would be one example, and data pertaining to random number generators would be another.
Now let's talk about a random number generator for a moment. It's typically a quantum mechanical device. It's truly random, unpredictable, and experiments are done in which people are asked to predict or control the outcome.
That is true, yes.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at that data, and you start looking at the data, for example, in remote viewing, you find a certain commonality in terms of that thread. You find that if you statistically analyze the good, solid research, and I must tell you that research in the discipline of parapsychology, which I see as part of this broader area of consciousness research, to include other things, for example, genius and other kinds of ideas. Research in the area of parapsychology is so detailed and so careful that, in a way, every single student in a bachelor's degree in science ought to be taught the methodology that has been applied to parapsychological research, the stringencies, making sure that everything is covered, that there is no area of leakage from the senses, from the eyes and the ears and the smell and the taste and the touch, for example.
Yeah.
And from the motor senses in terms of muscle manipulation of any kind, or even manipulation now of electronic instrumentation. It's a fantastically detailed area from the point of view of research. And when aspects such as remote viewing demonstrate statistics against chance, we're talking about what's called frequentist statistics, the usual kind of statistics that we are taught in psychology, that we are taught in even the harder sciences such as physics, of 1 in a billion or more against chance. We call these 6 sigma data because when you analyze it, it's like 6 standard deviations away from the norm. We say, what's going on? Got that in the remote viewing. You've got that with random number generators. We've got it with the Global Consciousness Project.
Let's talk a bit about that.
Yeah.
How the Global Consciousness Project is also based on these random number or random event generators, quantum mechanical devices, but they're, in this case, scattered all over the world. The principal researcher, our friend Roger Nelson, calls them eggs. And what he finds is that when there are significant events that attract the attention of millions or even billions of people, the death of Princess Diana and her funeral, or the elections or great sporting events where 1 billion people are watching, that there's a certain coherence that appears in, you could say, the quantum mechanical foam that underlies reality, and it shows up in these random event generators.
Truly remarkable, and again, more than 1 in a billion against chance.
Yeah.
6 sigma, amazing. And then you can throw around other things, like the BEM protocol from Daryl Bem.
Daryl Bem, the Cornell psychologist who has done a whole series of conventional psychological experiments, but he added a twist in which the effect comes before the stimulus that produces it. Let me put it, yes, that's right. The stimulus follows the effect rather than precedes the effect. In other words, the stimulus seems to be operating in a reverse direction in time.
And that's amazing. And yet you look at presentiment, which relates
another
again to
research
time.
paradigm. So we've got about half a dozen or more research paradigms with dozens of experiments in each of them, producing significant results. And you raised one point earlier that you talked about the rigor with which this research is done. Conventionally, people surmise that these researchers must be idiots or shoddy researchers or fools. But when you look at it carefully, what you find, what you've just said, is their research is more rigorous on average than typical research in science.